Leo, welcome to your October 2020 Astro Transits. It's Raina here. So I guess the big news in the month of October, besides yet another Mercury retrograde, in a year that seems full of retrograde motion, whether it be from, our society or from the heavens, is that besides that Mercury retrograde, which is happening, in the middle of the month, we're having two full moons to kind of bookend October. The first being on the actual first of the month and the last being on the last day on Halloween. So that's pretty significant. It's called a blue moon, the one on Halloween. And that's why they say once in a blue moon. It's not something that happens every day. So we're dealing with a full moon at 9 degrees of Aries on the 1st. Now, this is as the sun is in Libra. Libra for you, Leo, is your third house, which is a very chatty house. It's a house of kind of keeping up on the news, maybe communicating yourself, maybe training for some kind of, skill, or you're training other people, teaching other people some practical skill, or even like tutoring or elementary school teaching. The third house is writing, could be the media, could be social media for sure. And on the first day, having that full moon in a fellow fire sign, and the fact that we're talking about the ninth house some of you, it's going to be in a different house. So if you're between 0 and 9 degrees of Leo sun or Leo rising, this is also for Leo rising for sure, this will fall in that ninth house. And this may be more of kind of a philosophical effect. It may not be something that is so, in your face, because the ninth house is the God house, and it's really about our the way that we interact with life. What do we think we're here for? If you've been confused at all, Leo, you may have an aha moment. This is what I'm meant to do. So it may take you out of that confusion. You may have like some spiritual understanding or breakthrough of some sort, that where you were kind of agonizing over a certain issue and not sure, I guess the most dramatic type would be if you were agnostic or an atheist and you suddenly believe in God. But the full moon is a very psychic time, so it can really tune you into that aspect of life. But on the more mundane level, you may be graduating from college, or maybe you're switching majors. You realize that you really don't like what your major is. It's something to do, maybe you're finishing a long distance journey. It's coming to culmination. Or you're finishing preparations for it, or you're able to manifest it finally. This trip that you've been wanting to go on. For the people who are 10 to 29 degrees, sun or rising in Leo, this is going to fall in your 8th house. And this is a very psychic house, but very deep, intense. This is Scorpio's house. So it has that element of the shadow. And I always call the moon the shadow compared to the sun in terms of what it represents, in terms of how it compares to the sun. If you have the sun in Leo versus the moon in Leo, what's the difference? So that kind of thing. So that can be like realizing your true feelings about something or someone. And that can be uncomfortable because the 8th house is like those uncomfortable feelings. The shadow isn't like sweetness and light and all the things that you are positive about. It's all the things that you might try to hide even from yourself, and that you would never want anybody to know that you're like that deep down inside. Now, obviously, you're not, that doesn't define you. And everybody has a shadow side. Some people are comfortable with their shadow. They know that it exists. And I'm really curious about this term shadow work. Like, what kind of work are you actually doing? To me, it's more about self-awareness. And it's not really work. It's about keeping your, it's about awakening more, like learning who you really are, than it is about some kind of actual work that you're doing. Now, on the slightly more mundane level, this can be psychotherapy. So in that sense, yes, I mean, it's more concrete, where you have somebody who's actually asking you, okay, tell me about your childhood, tell me about your mother, tell me about your father, and bringing out these elements that may be loaded with a lot of resentment and rage and all these dark emotions, but that if you were left to your own devices, you would never consciously think about them. So it is possible that some of you may decide that you want to go into therapy because of things that you've been dealing with. But in any case, you could have some kind of fuller awareness, as well as with the occult. This would be a great time to do a tarot reading if you have the full moon in the 8th house, because you would be on point probably. On the 2nd, Venus goes into Virgo, a very practical area. For you, this is the 12th house. I mean, I said the 12th house. The 2nd house. And that is really great for attracting money because Venus rules the 2nd house. So that is like a double Venus influence. And that can be indicative of some increase in money for whatever reason. The 2nd house is supposed to be the money that you earn yourself. So in that sense, that might be a raise or something like that, but whatever. I don't limit it to that because I know that sometimes it might be something other than that. On the 4th, Pluto goes direct at 22 degrees of Capricorn. So for Leo, we do have this, lots of activity transit-wise in this sector for you. So this, again, speaking of some of the other things that we have been referring to, this is like a practical, just like the 2nd house is an earth house that Venus is going into. This is an earth house as well, the 6th house. Now this is, Pluto is going direct here. If you are at a latter degree of Capricorn, this will actually be in your 5th house, which you rule. But that would be those Leos from 23 to 29 degrees of Leo, Sun, or rising. The vast majority of you are going to experience this in your 6th house of work. This may be an area, the 6th house, Leo, that has been kind of a sore subject in recent years, whether it's health issues, without knowing more details, but just kind of guessing of the potential for this in this house. Some of the possibilities in recent years is somebody who has developed an eating disorder. Pluto can really be somebody who wants to control their health. And whether it's orthorexia, eating to being obsessed with clean eating, which Pluto rules obsession as well as purging. So that desire to detoxify as well as obsession itself in the area of diet, the 6th house, and anorexia, which can be like kind of a catch-all situation where the person is trying to, trying to control their out of control feelings. Maybe they feel their life is out of control by obsessing about their diet. And yes, there are other things that go along with that. If the person is actually overweight and they feel that it's not good enough. But a lot of times, even if somebody is overweight, I think that it's kind of just like a slight thing. I was just watching something with Karen Carpenter before she died, and a lot of people who are younger may not know who she was, but she was such an amazing singer. And when I was growing up, they didn't have a lot of her song. I just didn't hear her music on the radio because it'd become like much more hard rock, maybe on some soft adult contemporary station. And so I basically, discovered her through YouTube. Even though I was a kid when she was famous, I just think there was one song that I was familiar with. And it was just, the point being that she died of anorexia. And I remember reading that she had kind of a moon face, and she felt like her face, or somebody said that she needed to lose weight in the music industry or something. So that made her start on that journey. And I'm not saying that, I know I've gone off on a tangent, but I'm just saying that obsession with diet can take many forms, but it can have similar effects of restricting foods to the detriment of the person's health. So I also want to say that obviously the statistics would show that any sign can have, even with any transit, can have an eating disorder. So it's not to say that this is a guarantee for you. But if it has been true for you, I also think that with Jupiter here, you're able to get help, you're able to have a more positive attitude, something, maybe a philosophical attitude about your health, where you say, I am not my body. Whatever my body looks like doesn't have anything to do with my true self. I don't have to be accepted by anybody, that kind of thing. So I just want to kind of counter that with something positive, because it certainly is not all negative. Pluto in the 6th house may have nothing to do with your diet and everything to do with your dynamics at work with other people. The 6th house can be your coworkers. Pluto can be this, power play with coworkers. Now, in recent months, when Pluto's been retrograde, you may have looked in the mirror and said, how have I contributed to this dynamic? And again, if you're going through therapy, if you're, feeling very overwhelmed about a lot of things, Leo, you may be seeking kind of like the answers to that by talking to somebody about your issues. And this may be what drives you to therapy, because Pluto can represent that therapy. And in the 6th house, it can be because of the people around you. Now, it can also be that you come to the conclusion, hey, if I'm feeling this bad about where I'm working, that I need to seek therapy. I mean, where did I say? Yeah, where I'm working, that I need to seek therapy, then maybe I need to get a new job. And I feel like when Jupiter and Saturn leave Capricorn and go into Aquarius, even though it opposes your sun or rising sign, it still will be in a compatible element. And maybe by then it'll be out of that 6th house and it won't be bearing down on you so much. So let me see. So Pluto going direct can be more, maybe you've been doing that internal work and now you're ready to experience the outer parts of Pluto, which can also be like a healing career, healing arts career, as well as, empowering yourself in the workplace. On the 13th, Mercury goes retrograde. I think I was trying to say direct and retrograde at the same time. Mercury goes retrograde on the 13th at 11 degrees of Scorpio. Scorpio is a fixed sign like you, Leo, and it rules the fourth house of home and family. However, if you are born from 0 to 11 degrees, it will be in that house. The other ones from 12 to 29 degrees of Scorpio will see this in their third house, the house that Mercury rules. So that could really be some communication snafus of many different types. But with the ones who have it in the fourth house of home and family, watch out for any kind of misunderstandings with family members, especially the mother. If you're buying a house, for instance, then you want to make sure that you have all your paperwork and things like that, because this could indicate, contracts problems or whatnot. So Mercury retrograde is, they say it's not wise to sign contracts during that time. So, this could be something with a house issue. However, we can't suspend our life for retrogrades. And the better thing to do is to be more thorough, and then maybe you won't have to deal with the negative consequences. On the 16th, there's a new moon at 23 degrees of Libra, and that will be, for most of you, this is going to be in the third house of communication. So this is a big area for you. But training, maybe it's a new training that you're undertaking. And maybe it's some kind of new website or blog that you are launching. Are you going to launch during a Mercury retrograde? That's on you. That's your decision. For the minority of you from 24 to 29 degrees of Leo, this will actually fall in your area of finances, so the second house, because of the connection with, it being in the last degrees. It's going to be in that second house, and it means that you may have some new source of income. Maybe there is some kind of a raise that you're getting. Who knows? But definitely your finances could be featured in some way. And of course you have Virgo in the second house. So that, did I say Virgo? I meant Venus in the second house. So that can just bolster this idea of attracting more money to you. On the 22nd, the sun goes into Scorpio. So fourth house action. So dealing with the mother, or dealing with the family of origin, dealing with real estate, or just your home itself. Maybe for some people, they are planning on renovating their house at some point, and they're getting ready for that. Who knows? Because Venus will be going into that house. Or Venus will be going into that house in a couple of months, maybe. And so perhaps that'll be a time when you paint your house or redecorate it in some other way. And on the 31st, the main event, the full moon, that happens to be a blue moon, that is going to be visible to the entire world. So I think that's symbolic, even though I read that on a site that was more like for astronomy, not astrology. And in conjunction with Uranus, an exact 8 degrees of Taurus. So there again, we have a square, because you're Leo and Taurus represents your career sector. But let's look at it in terms of people of different degrees, 0 to 8 degrees of Leo. This falls in that 10th house. The full blue moon with conjunction to Uranus could be, and this, I just said this to Libra, or was it, Cancer, because they also, some of them are having this too. If you're having, if you're like an entertainer, this could be becoming famous. Overnight success that you have been working at for years. The 10th house can be fame. It's your reputation in the world. Full moons can bring those out. It's a blue moon, so it's kind of like rare event. And then it's in conjunction with Uranus, which can deal with technology. So the internet, like you have an internet video that goes viral if you're into that. Or just something to do with if you're an actor and you're in a movie and then everybody likes you, who knows? But that can give you that kind of recognition, and that can further your career. Or you get a raise, promotion. For some people, they may be retiring. You've already worked at a place for 40 years, who knows? That you're ending, you're culminating. For the rest of you, this will happen in your 9th house. So this will be the vast majority from 9 to 29 degrees of Taurus. This will actually fall in your 9th house, which is the God house. And just like I said earlier for the other ones, this is a time of maybe letting go of something that is academic. That can even be, who knows, maybe you don't believe a lot of the dogma that you are studying in college, and you're kind of letting it go, and you're saying maybe you drop out of college, could graduate from college. You could change your major. You could realize what your life philosophy is. And for some reason, it's important that you know this. There's all sorts of possibilities. But, Halloween, it's so cool that it's happening on Halloween. So I hope that you enjoyed this, Leo. If you would like a private reading, the link is below. Thanks for listening. Take care. Bye.